Imagine standing on a planet where the ground is cracking open beneath you, 1 inch at a time, because the entire world is dying and shrinking around you. Where the sun rises, stops, goes backward, and rises again in the same morning. Where ice sits frozen forever, a few hundred miles from heat that melts lead. That planet is real. It's the closest one to the sun, and almost nobody has ever looked closely at it. 20 facts, each one stranger than the last. By the end, you'll understand why scientists call Mercury the planet that breaks the rules. Let's start with the one that sounds like science fiction. Mercury is shrinking. Not in theory. Right now, its core is cooling, and as it cools, the whole planet contracts like a grape drying into a raisin. The surface is literally wrinkling. Massive cliffs, some over a mile high, are forming as the crust buckles inward on itself. These cliffs are called lobate scarps, and they stretch for hundreds of miles, snaking across the surface like scars healing over a wound. Mercury has lost several miles of its diameter since it formed, and the shrinking hasn't stopped. Spacecraft imagery shows cracks still forming today, which means Mercury is one of the only worlds we can watch actively deforming in real time. It is the only planet in the solar system actively caving in. And that's not even the strangest thing about its inside. A day on Mercury is longer than its year. Mercury orbits the Sun in just 88 Earth days, but because of its strange spin, one full day night cycle takes 176 Earth days. That means if you were born at sunrise on Mercury, the sun wouldn't set until you were 2 years old. Picture living through 2 entire orbits around the sun before your first sunset. 2 full years of your life, and the sun still hanging in the exact same spot in the sky. Mercury has ice. On the hottest planet closest to the sun, there is frozen water. Inside deep polar craters, sunlight never reaches the floor. Temperatures stay below -280 degrees permanently. These craters act like natural freezers, shielded from the sun's angle no matter what time of day or year it is, because on Mercury, that angle never really changes. NASA confirmed ice deposits there in 2012, sitting in eternal darkness, a few hundred miles from surface heat that can melt lead. 2 extremes, sitting side by side, separated by nothing more than the shadow of a crater wall. But the ice isn't even the most disturbing thing hiding at the poles. Mercury has a tail. Like a comet, solar wind blasts sodium atoms off its surface and they stream behind the planet in a thin, glowing tail stretching millions of miles. You'd never see it with the naked eye, but it's there, every second, trailing behind Mercury like a ghost, invisible, constant, and utterly silent. Scientists only discovered it by studying sunlight scattering off those sodium atoms, an entire structure hiding in plain sight for centuries. Mercury's core takes up 85% of the planet. Earth's core is about half its size. Mercury's is almost the entire planet, a thin rocky shell wrapped around an enormous ball of iron. If Mercury were an egg, almost the entire thing would be yolk, with barely a shell around it. Some scientists believe Mercury used to be much bigger, until something violent stripped away its outer layers. What could have done that? We're getting there. You can't stand on Mercury and watch a sunset the way you think. Because of its strange orbit and rotation, the sun sometimes rises, stops, reverses, and sets again, before finally rising a third time. This happens because Mercury moves fastest in its orbit exactly when it's closest to the sun, briefly outpacing its own rotation, so the sun appears to loop backward in the sky before continuing on. Astronauts standing at the right spot at the right time would watch the sun do something that looks physically impossible, a glitch in the sky that isn't a glitch at all. 6 facts down, 14 left. And the next one is the closest thing to proof Mercury survived something catastrophic. Mercury may be the survivor of a planetary collision. That oversized core, one leading theory says a massive impact, early in the solar system's history, blasted away Mercury's outer layers, leaving only the dense core behind. Some models suggest the collision was so violent it stripped away nearly 2/3 of the planet's original mass, vaporizing rock and flinging it into space forever. If true, Mercury isn't just a planet. It's a scar, a survivor still carrying the wound from a fight that happened over 4 billion years ago. Mercury has quakes. Mercury quakes, caused by the planet shrinking and its crust cracking under pressure. We used to think only Earth and the Moon had seismic activity. Mercury proved that wrong. Each quake is another sign of a planet quietly, violently adjusting to its own slow collapse, one tremor at a time. Despite being closest to the Sun, Mercury is not the hottest planet. Venus is. Mercury has no atmosphere to trap heat, so nighttime temperatures crash to negative 290 degrees, colder than anywhere on Earth ever recorded. One planet, two extremes, hot enough to melt lead in daylight, cold enough to freeze oxygen at night. There's no in-between on Mercury. No mild afternoon, no gentle evening, just brutal heat, and then brutal cold, over and over, forever. It took humanity over 30 years to send a second mission to Mercury. Mariner 10 flew by in the 1970s. Messenger didn't arrive until 2011. Why the gap? Because Mercury is one of the hardest places in the solar system to reach. The Sun's gravity makes it easier to reach Pluto than to slow down enough to orbit Mercury. A spacecraft heading toward Mercury keeps accelerating the entire way in, pulled harder and harder by the Sun, which means engineers have to fight physics just to slow down enough to arrive without crashing straight into it. Mercury has almost no moons, and never will. Its gravity, combined with the Sun's proximity, makes stable orbits around it nearly impossible. Any moon Mercury ever had would have been ripped away or crashed into it long ago, torn apart by the same forces that make the entire planet such a hostile place to visit. Halfway there. And what comes next might be the strangest fact in the entire video. Mercury barely tilts at all. Its axis leans less than 1 degree compared to Earth's 23. That means Mercury has no seasons, ever. The same brutal extremes, in the same places forever. No spring, no winter, no gradual shift in temperature to soften the blow. Just one unchanging pattern, repeating endlessly. Mercury has a magnetic field, and nobody fully knows why. A planet needs a fast spin and a churning liquid core to generate one. Mercury spins painfully slowly, and yet it has a real magnetic field, oddly shifted off-center, like the planet is hiding something inside it scientists still can't explain. Some researchers think it points to a partially molten core still active today, which would mean Mercury's interior is far from the dead, frozen husk it appears to be on the surface. You've probably never noticed Mercury in the sky, and there's a reason for that. It never strays far from the Sun. It's always low on the horizon, swallowed in glare, visible for only a few minutes after sunset or before sunrise. Ancient civilizations thought it was two separate objects, a morning star and an evening star, without realizing it was the same planet the entire time, hiding in plain sight, right at the edge of the light. Mercury is named after the fastest god in Roman mythology, and it earned that name. It's the fastest planet in the solar system, tearing around the Sun at nearly 100,000 miles per hour. Ancient astronomers watched it dart across the sky faster than anything else they could track, and named it after their messenger god, the one who moved faster than any other. Mercury has smooth volcanic plains that shouldn't exist on a planet this small. Small planets cool fast and go geologically dead early, but Mercury shows signs of volcanic flooding that happened long after it should have gone cold. Something kept its interior active far longer than scientists expected, generating lava flows that filled entire basins and smoothed over older scars on the surface. One crater on Mercury is so massive it deformed the entire planet. It's called the Caloris Basin, over 900 miles wide, left behind by an ancient impact. The shockwave from that collision traveled straight through the planet's core and cracked the surface on the exact opposite side, creating jumbled, chaotic terrain scientists just call weird terrain, because there was no better name for it. Picture an impact so powerful, its shockwave circled through the entire planet and tore the ground apart on the far side, thousands of miles away from where it hit. Mercury looks like the moon, but chemically, it makes no sense. Its surface is rich in volatile elements like sulfur and potassium, materials that should have boiled away if Mercury formed as close to the sun's heat as everyone assumed. That single contradiction has forced scientists to rethink how the entire planet was born, possibly forming farther out in the solar system before migrating inward over millions of years. 20 facts. A shrinking planet, a tail like a comet, ice inside a furnace, a core that swallowed most of a world, a crater that cracked the planet on the opposite side, a magnetic field that shouldn't exist. Mercury isn't just the smallest planet or the closest to the sun. It's the most violent survivor in our solar system, carrying the scars of a catastrophe billions of years old, silently unraveling, one crack at a time. The takeaway: the planet we ignore the most may have the most extreme story in the entire solar system. If this changed the way you see Mercury, hit like so more people find this. Subscribe if you want the next planet secrets unpacked just like this. And drop a comment. Which one of these 20 facts surprised you the most? Until next time, goodbye.